What is going on, and welcome to another Rust Malware Devlog. Since the last one that I did, I've done a little bit of refactoring, and I've also added bot ID registration to both the C2 and the malware itself. So what the bot ID registration is it creates or it grabs a UUID from the Windows operating system and uses that as an identifier within the SQLite database. Basically, that's going to be used to index into other tables where we've got useful information and all of that other fun stuff. But let's dive into the code a little bit, and then we'll show a demo. So if we look at the source directory, this is the actual malware itself. The big thing that's changed is main. We've got this get ID function here, and we are passing that to the ping C2 function. So basically what this is doing is it is sending a ping to the C2 server, and it is saying, hey, this ID is here. And this ID is being grabbed from the actual piece of malware itself. So let's go over to the get ID function. So func mod get ID. So what this is doing is it is running the wmic commands, which is the Windows Management Interface CLI, I believe. That's what it stands for. But basically what it's used for is to kind of manage different things on the Windows operating system. I'm using it to grab the UUID that is supposed to be unique for each individual Windows installation. Now, as kind of a disclaimer here, I have a hunch, I've not tested this yet, I have a hunch that the UUID is not going to be perfectly unique. For example, if you clone a VM installation, I would imagine that UUID is not going to be unique. Probably. If you install from the same ISO, it probably will generate a unique identifier, but this is not a perfect UUID. What I'm going to end up doing is grabbing this UUID, appending the timestamp of the installation to it, and then SHA-256ing that entire string. And that is going to be unique enough to use as a UUID. But for now, this is good enough. If we look here, this wmic command that we're running on the Windows system, the victim system, it gives us a human readable format. It doesn't give us a great kind of output that we can use just right off the bat. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm splitting by the carriage return and taking the first or the second, I guess, item within that split. And that is going to be the actual ID itself. And then I'm trimming the white space off of the end. So you'll see all of this here in the demo. I'm actually recording this for a second time because I forgot to record the demo. So we are going to, in fact, do a demo this time. So this is just going to return the ID. That's really all you really need to know about it. It's going to return the ID within a result variable. So if we look back at main, we're unwrapping that results using the match, and then we are pinging the C2 with it. So let's go ahead and look at that ping C2 function. Let's go to C2 mod ping C2. So it takes the C2, which is hard-coded within the config file, and it takes the ID, and it sends that ID along within a post request, so within the body of a post request as the ID right there. You can kind of see the way that the body is laid out. So we are sending that along to the C2. We are awaiting to make sure that we get a good response, and that's really about it. That's nothing super interesting there. If we go back over to the C2 here, let's look at... Now this one I've done a lot of refactoring on. If we look at main, there's almost nothing there now. We're creating the routes within another file, and we are creating the handlers within another file. So we're kind of breaking things out quite a bit here to make it a little bit easier for me to work with this. So if we look at routes, mod, ping corresponds to the ping handler. So we go over to handlers, and we go to ping. This is going to be the handler that actually handles the request to the ping endpoint here. So this is what's going to receive that post request that we looked at earlier. So we're getting the IP address from that request. I'll show that function here in a bit, but that's an older function. And we are adding that victim with the IP address and the body.id. Now this body object is parsed out of the request as a post body, and we are parsing it into the ping request body right here, the ping request struct. So if we go to struct ping request, that is just a structure that has an ID as a field. That's really all that is. So we are getting the IP there, and we're adding the victim to our SQLite database via addvic, and addvic is super simple, but I'll show you here. Addvic. All that's doing is inserting the victim into the database. So if we go over here to rust mal serve and we run it, let's do cargo run. That should run fine. Let's pop over to our victim PC here. And we are going to run our normal. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Probably not. All right, that should have helped a little bit. And let's run our normal fetch command. We are deleting rustmal.exe, which is the old version. We are grabbing a new version, and we are outputting that to rustmal.exe, and then we are running rustmal.exe. That's all this does. Fairly self-explanatory. So we run it, it grabs the malware, it outputs our ID here, and then it starts its normal loop. So it says that we successfully pinged the C2. We can go back and look at our C2 over, not Serato. Don't need to open that. Let's look where, there. So as we can see, the successfully registered victim with IP blah and ID blah. So that is the unique ID that we're grabbing here. Again, this unique ID is for the Windows operating system. So again, I have a feeling that this is not going to be a perfect ID, and I'm going to test that out a little bit later and change the way that I'm kind of grabbing the ID. But I'm going to kind of start transitioning this series over to like a devlog format where I'm just kind of covering smaller iterations of this every day, every couple of days. And that's going to be the way that I kind of run things in the future. But yeah, that's about it. Take it easy. Peace.